on its way. Save the best for last, you know. Everybody knows me. Well done. Been here for 43 years. Everybody knows me. What? 40, 43. I know. Well, tomorrow. I'm 42. I'm just 42 tonight. I'm thinking it's like, yeah. I get to work. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. Please stand as we say your Pledge of Allegiance. A moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any changes or revisions to the regular consent agendas?
I do have one. I need to add in section 7, F, a consideration of middle school, high school athletic handbook. Add that in there, and that'll then move F and G down to G and H. And then I need to make an addition to personnel, hiring. Terry, I don't know the name, but I've got Jamie Baser as 8th grade volleyball coach to the recommended.
I'm going to request removal of the consent agenda item B, claims and financial reports, create a new agenda section E-A and new business I. Section A, 4, recognition of visitors. Also rename sections 7, new business,
and also request removal of the employment recommendations, section D2. Move the employee recommendations to the newly created 5A, new business, and add section B, employment recommendations. That's section. Sorry.
Yeah. Some movements because of yeah. So we had to move a few things around just because we have a couple two different public hearing sections or public comment sections tonight. So we moved that to the things that we're pulling out of the consent agenda and move them just ahead of our recognition. So that's what that's about.
I will entertain a motion in a second to the revised regular consent agenda.
So moved.
What's made a motion to revise regular consent agenda? Seconded. All those in favor? Consideration of approval of board meeting minutes.
We already approved that. We can move on to new business. We just approved it.
All right, business 5A, consideration of approval of claims and financial reports.
Yeah, so in your board packets, and since you pulled this out of the consent agenda, in your board package, you will find the financial reports for the claims 30346 through 30442. Also payrolls 7921 and 72321. So we will then need a motion to approve the approval of those claims in the financial reports.
Would you make a motion? I'll second.
Lisa made a motion to approve the consideration of claims and payroll. Wes seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries.
And then the next is we pulled out the Yeah.
Employment recommendations.
So we pulled out of the consent agenda the employment recommendations. So I'm going to read through those since we have pulled them out of the consent agenda, and then we can make a motion and approve those. So we'll go through here. So these are the employment recommendations at Central Elementary. We're hiring Hannah Freeman as a kindergarten teacher, Allison Moy as an instructional assistant, Tina Kirchhoff as a long-term sub through fall break. At Fillmore, Donald Piles as a custodian. At the middle school and high school, Austin Judy as a business teacher, Melissa Hall as an instructional assistant, Casey Rossick as a nurse assistant as a part-time, Bethany Combs as a nurse part-time, Rachel Burris, instructional assistant, Aaron Roach is an athletic assistant. In transportation, we are hiring Tanya Gilmeyer as a bus driver. Athletics, Brian Gardner is the high school girls golf coach, Kurt Kyles the varsity baseball coach, Maro Benedito, assistant girls track coach, Mike Richmond, middle school cross country coach, and Jamie Sore, 8th grade volleyball coach. Those are our recommendations, employment recommendations.
So moved.
Wes made a motion to approve the employment recommendations. Lisa seconded. All those in favor? All right. Administrators, if you have any guests or new hires you'd like to introduce, please do so.
Erin Roach is our new athletic assistant. Happy to have her. Starts tomorrow, bright and early. 5 a.m. I think. Maybe not. But yeah, Anna's going to come in tomorrow and help her get up to speed with what she does, and then we'll kind of review where she left off, where we need to pick up, and I'll carry on from there. And then all of our coaches, other coaches that they announced.
Welcome. Two public comment sections, one here in the general session and one in the public hearing regarding the bond project. We will have comments ending up with. So next up, financial update.
Yep. So tonight we have Paul Federer from Administrative Assistance here to provide an updated financial report for us.
Good evening, everybody. I placed this in front of you to highlight the month of July, so it's a little easier to follow. If you look at the education fund, and we haven't talked for a while, so I'll probably be redundant in a few things, but the education fund is funded almost 100% by the state of Indiana. No tax dollars involved in that, except for the state back to you. Nothing like levy or anything like that. It's all state money, and you can see that in that basic grant row where it's over $600,000 each month that you get in. You also see the new money that came in July. That grant jumped about $25,000. That's what they're forecasting. Now, this is a little bit off subject, but not much. As I work through your budget, getting the budget prepared to present to you next month, there's I think good news about enrollment, and I won't give you that figure, but I think it's up, and that means that number that they forecast was based on what we gave them months ago. So that number could go up. That would be a good thing, and that forces me now to drop back and redo the education budget, because if we really do gain some kids, I don't want to miss out on the state. So I'm going to have to reshuffle the deck and make sure that we account for where we feel the enrollment's going to be. We kind of deliberately waiting on first day of school, 2nd that's what we're working on budget-wise right now. The rest of it's pretty well done, and I'll bring it to you. But you can see that I told you last time we talked about this, that the two most important things on this page and the second page are what you started with in January and what we think you're going to end up with in December. And I highlighted both those cells in yellow. Now, that's the purpose of cash flows. It's not to tell you where you are that month. It's not to tell you where you were in July. It's to tell you where you started and where you think you're going to end, because if you don't see that, you can get blindsided along the way. You just do this focused on each month, and then all of a sudden, where'd our money go? That kind of thing. So this is good news. This is really good news. And I'm kind of anxious to see September 15th, which is the actual calendar. And we hope it's today, and then we'll take a look at that. But I will accommodate that in the new budget, and I'll talk more about that. In the operations fund, that is a fund that, to me, that doesn't change much every month. But it, as you know, the state made big changes to this. They moved the superintendent, all the people who work with the superintendent, custodians, maintenance, all to this fund. This fund never used to have salaries, and now it does. So the state also said, we're going to allow this to grow each year a certain percentage. This year it was 4.3%. They're guessing it's going to be around 4% each year. Obviously, this is a tax support, and the purpose of moving to a tax support is the taxpayers are going to pay part of this cost. And there is a transfer from the education fund to this fund. But going forward, you think about raises and stuff like that. So the goal here is, if you start out with $700,000, get through the year, you end up with $700,000. If it grows a little bit, that's great. That's one way to fund a rainy day, move some excess money. But if it stays there, it's okay. It's okay. And I wouldn't want to see it get much below $700,000. We do need a cash balance in case something grabs you totally unexpected. But this, again, this is kind of where we think we are. So I don't have a lot more to say about that. I will continue to present these to you monthly, but after we get through the start of school, after we're into, say, September, and we have this calendar, then this is going to be presented by the superintendent, and eventually we'll just kind of hold hands, and you'll learn this mechanism, which is, I think, that's kind of where we are by the end of the year. He'll start presenting maybe in October. That's the goal.
From our memory, the estimated numbers considered city numbers neutral. The loss, no gain.
I think it was 7. There was 2 students or 3 students, and that's why you see the increase there, because you remain neutral, but stay small. So now,
You're not seeing anything different that, the last time we spoke, you said we're pretty good compared to a lot of other schools in our, our size, our tax base, and everything. There's still no indicators that that's any different than the last time we spoke.
I think you really are in a good place. I see some school corporations with larger numbers, but I think that's going to change, and I'll tell you why. I think it's because the state has said, we want $40,000 as a starting salary. We don't want $35,000 or $36,000. We want 40, and once you're there 2 years, you're going to see some of that movement. And some of that's going to have to come out of that cash that other school corporations are holding. Our goal here is to do it and maintain the 1.3 million, 1.2 million cash. There was a time I wouldn't have said that. because in debt service, your debt service, we haven't touched that after I know kind of what you're doing. We'll get that organized. But in debt service, you used to be able to carry 50% of your debt in cash balance. Like I said that once before. So if you had $3 million in debt, you could carry 1.5 million in cash. You did that because you have to have cash to cover everything. You have one checking account and maybe 50 funds in that one checking account. But the bottom line is how much money you've got in the corporation. If you don't have cash in these funds, that bottom line can shrink, start shrinking fast, and then you're in trouble because you can't pay your bills. So you want to wind up with cash. What the state has done to debt service, passed this law 2 years ago, you no longer can have 50% cash balance in any debt that was after 2014. That goes back to this. So certainly any new debt you enter into, it's now 15%. And so most of your debt, as you look at your corporation, is going to be hit with the 15%. Well, take a $3 million debt, 50%, and then do it at 15%. It's a huge difference in cash. So you cannot carry more than 15% of your debt in that cash. When that happens, what if there's a burden in the courthouse? What if tax payments don't get out in time? I lived through 3 years of that when I was a businessman. But we had 50% cash. You won't. So your other two funds can't be their own. They've got to maintain some type of cash balance to help the whole thing. You're going to be borrowing money to pay it.
The cash has to be replenished somehow to keep that balance.
And that's one of the. Sorry, I did.
Thank you.
Public hearing on the bond project. Next, if you are interested in speaking at the hearing, please make sure you have signed a sign-in sheet at the back of the room, which should include your name and address. After a presentation by the administration and its advisors, there will be an opportunity for the public to make comments about the project. The notice of this project hearing was published as legally required on July 27th, 2021 in the banner graphic. At this time, I will ask our school attorney, Ms. Stacy Barclay, to explain the purpose of this hearing.
Back to like helmet. So we're looking at the Indiana code, and to like specific, it's 2026-737. But basically, before the school corporation can spend more than $1 million to build, repair, or alter a school building that will be financed by leases or bonds, we have to have a public hearing. And there'll be explanations about the potential value of the project to, given to both the school board and you as the public. It's basically a very traditional process. And it's all to do with establishing a maximum project. We'll talk about that more, but this is about the maximum, not the
Now hear from our superintendent about the process of determining and communicating the project to the community and the needs of the project.
So way back before I got here, the facility study was done, basically looking at potential items and things that they could do for the school corporation as buildings, facilities, and part of that was Mr. Hutchison, our maintenance director, was involved in that. Previous superintendent, Mr. Bernhardt, was part of that, and board members were part of that process as well. I came on board after that preliminary study was done, and we're now taking this project basically from a 30,000 foot view and kind of dialing it in a little bit, making it a little bit more concrete, more of the scope and sequence, working through the financial aspects, the legal aspects, and the contractor teams and so forth, getting things put together. There are more needs than this project can fulfill, so we are prioritizing these needs based on like end of life of the components, the functionality, compliance, so forth like that. So ADA compliance, different compliance aspects. The The goal for this project is to shore up some of the needed infrastructure to provide safety, efficiency, increase sustainability, and usability, and to enhance the learning functionality of certain classrooms and areas in the school, and especially in the science labs.
We'll now hear from Mr. Hutchison, our maintenance director, about how the proposed project meets the needs as described by the superintendent.
Yeah, most of the projects on our list, current and beyond, are projects that was determined by the board, administrators, past superintendent, and myself. Projects that are going to meet the needs currently and for the future of the corporation itself. Does anybody have any questions on that?
We'll now hear from Luke from, right, I didn't get your
Luke Brueggemann from Steve.
Public finance about the proposed project, how it will be financed, as well as the information about the effect on the typical property taxpayer.
Hi, good evening. Luke Brueggemann with Stiefel, with Service Municipal Advisor for the School Corporation, here to talk about the potential financing of this project and the potential taxpayer impact that it may have. So the first thing we do whenever we structure a new bond issue is start with the school corporation's current debt obligations. You can see here in 2021 we have the bar chart of the 5 different bond issues that the school corporation currently has, almost $3 million of an annual payment. Next year, we're down to 2 bond issues and under $500,000 annually. By 2024, the school corporation is completely out of debt. You travel around the state, and I can say that this only a handful of school corporations are in a position like you guys are to have be out of debt in 2024. So it's a great time to take care of some of the immediate needs based on where you guys are currently, and obviously interest rates are really low as well, so it's a great time to borrow. Go back to the next page. So whenever we look at the potential project, is $4.8 million is the maximum amount that we're showing. The gray bars here is the current debt obligations, the ones that I just showed you on the previous page. The blue is the potential $4.8 million 2021 bond issue, how that would layer on to the current obligations and what that would do to the tax rate. The orange line right here is the projected debt service tax rate. You can see you're at about 54 cents in 2021. Even with this project, you're looking at going down in 22 and 23, and then a much larger clip in 2024. And then again, completely out of debt by 2028. So this will take care of some of the immediate needs of the school corporation, but also not hamstring them from future projects and allow them to come back in a couple of years and take care of any additional needs that come up at that time. So I said that the debt service rate is going to go down even with this project, and the reason for that is because we want to look at it as a total tax rate. It's not just the debt service rate that goes into the school corporation's tax bill. We'll touch on the operations fund, and there's also the pension fund. So if you go to the next slide, we factored all 3 of those funds in. The blue down here is the debt service rate, the red is the pension rate, and the orange is the operations rate. In 2021, you can see your total tax rate here. With those projects and the growth in the operations fund that Paul mentioned, we're still going to maintain that rate that's equivalent to 2021, while again leaving capacity in 2024. Some of the other debt obligations fall off. So trying to not just make this tax rate neutral in the debt service fund, but with all funds, the debt service operations and the pension fund. So I'll stop there. Actually, no, I have one more slide, sorry. So the legal parameters of the, which is what's in your resolution here. This is just establishing the maximum for this borrowing, which is $4.8 million for the total borrowing amount. You're going to have to pay lawyers, rating agency fees, municipal advisors, all the professional fees that come into that. We estimate that to be $150,000, which would leave the school corporation net proceeds available for hard and soft construction costs of $4,650,000. Some of the other items we've listed out here, the estimated interest rate, 4%. We're being extremely conservative on that. I think everyone knows rates are low. If we did this today, you're probably looking at closer to 1.5% or so. So we're being conservative with that. The estimated interest expense of $620,000. The maximum lease payment, that's just the maximum that the school would be allowed to pay back in 1 year. We would do that in 22 and 23 to make sure that we're leaving capacity for some of the future projects. And that's just the maximum payment that the school can make for this bond issue in 1 year. So the maximum tax rate impact that you'll see in your resolution, that's $64.58. That is just simply the $2 million divided by the school corporation's current net assessed value. It does not take into consideration the debt obligations falling off that I showed on the first slide. Whenever you factor that in, that's where we get the net impact on the tax rate of 0. So no tax rate increase. I know I just threw a lot of numbers and charts and graphs, but I'll stop there and open up to any questions.
So worst case scenario, no increase on taxes. Best case scenario, it might drop just a little bit.
I think we're going for tax rate neutrality now.
We'll now open the public hearing. If you would like to speak, please remember that you need to sign in. The sheet is now located with Beasley. As I mentioned earlier, we ask that you state your name and address and limit your comments to the proposed project and financing. And have any sign. Barclay, could you please summarize the project?
So we have several resolutions, so bear with me. The project resolution is required, again, as I said earlier, with the school's planning spending more than $1 million. It's going to contain those estimated parts, construction costs that Luke mentioned, as well as the cost of issuance, and establishes a total project cost and contains the estimated tax impact, and just as FYI, copies of the resolution that we're considering and the others we already have are available.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the project resolution. Made a motion to approve the project resolution. Joe seconded. All those in favor? Please summarize the reimbursement resolution.
So the reimbursement resolution relates to financing the construction project, and this is what permits the school corporation to reimburse itself from these bond proceeds for any cash invested on the project prior to the closing on the bonds, which of course is immediate. This is required by federal tax law because then we reimburse ourselves without having to. We did do this earlier in the year, but we're basically doing kind of a belt and suspenders thing. We're making sure we've got the ability to reimburse the school corporation if we have to pay some out of pocket for the bonds.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the reimbursement resolution. Lisa made a motion to approve the reimbursement resolution. Russ seconded. All in favor? Please summarize the resolution approving the form of the amendment to lease.
This is very short. So this resolution is all about approving that amendment to lease to meet those state requirements of the lease between the school corporation and the building corporation that I'm talking about.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution approving the amendment to lease. Wes made a motion to approve the resolution approving the amendment to lease. Joe seconded. All those in favor? Barclay, could we please summarize the resolution reapproving the building corporation?
Okay. So with our lease financing, we have to actually reapprove the leasing corporation, which is the building corporation, which will be comprised of some members of the district. I think so far 3 of the 5 are on board, but I'm still confirming. But this board actually has to approve us creating it again.
adopt the resolution reapproving of the building corporation. Made a motion to approve the resolution reapproving the building corporation. Wes seconded. All those in favor? Carries. Public meetings closed. Consideration of textbook costs and fees.
Yep, so each year we bring to you the approval for the textbook costs and the fees. In your package you receive the updated list for all the grade levels. We always strive to keep the costs as low as possible. We're always looking for alternative sources when possible as well. But we want to make sure we have the most robust materials possible for our teachers and our students to help support their learning. So we're just going to looking for approval of those textbook costs and fees.
That's pretty in line with what they were last year.
Yes, there were just a few additions for different courses that we're offering at the high school.
What's the trend seem to be? Does it seem to be like things are going down as, or things are going up? Those things over the course of like the last 5 years or so.
Well, as we get more and more technology based on some things, the costs go down because you don't have those hard costs of the printing of the books. So we're hoping to see they're shifting. You're seeing more and more shifting from hard copies to digital copies. So that helps.
I have a motion and a second to approve the textbook costs. Made a motion to approve the textbook costs and fees. Joe seconded. All those in favor? Consideration of employee job reclassification.
So as I've been working through multiple projects coming on July 1st, I'm routinely relying on my administrative team at the administrative office, two of which are here, Terry Beasley and Hillary Logan, also Evie Ogborn, a new hire from last month, doing an incredible job. However, in my research and as I dig through things in my office and going through things, I discovered that Terry Beasley was listed as an administrative assistant and was an hourly employee. And knowing and working with her over the last, actually was here even in June, but working on contract since July, she's basically a vital resource, and she does so much more than what her title and her hourly rate was accommodating. So she serves multiple purposes in the corporation. Many of you don't even know. Many of you who do serve in the corporation know what she does. It's amazing the things that she does. So, not belittling the title of administrative assistant because she does a lot of those duties as well. But she also serves as secretary to the board. As you guys see, every board meeting, she's taking the notes and everything with that, and providing the information for that for the board of trustees as well. She's also the executive assistant to me. Basically, anything that I assign to her, she's doing. But she also is basically our HR department. She does all the insurance and benefits coordination for the entire district. She coordinates with accounts payable and receivables and tracks a lot of those expenses as well. She also assists in the financial processes, budget processes, all the personnel records that are involved. She also serves as deputy treasurer. There's just a lot of things that her current compensation plan and title just don't accommodate. So my recommendation, and her roles just continue to expand. The job just seems to get bigger and bigger. So my recommendation is to reclassify Terry Beasley as a salaried employee in the district and to rename her position and her title. We call it Business Operations Coordinator and the Executive Assistant to the Superintendent. And that way we can match her contributions, her experience, and her expertise that she provides to the corporation. And those things I also have in your board packets. And just something I did not notice, and for those who are listening and are watching, Terry has served in the corporation since 1993. She's actually been in the superintendent's office. So I just want to recognize her service and sure her title matches her abilities and her contributions to the corporation.
I have a motion and a second to approve the employee job reclassification for Terry Beasley as presented in the board packet. Lisa made a motion to approve the job reclassification. That's seconded. All those in favor? Consideration of middle school, high school student handbook.
So Joel, can you speak to that real quick on the middle school, high school? I know we presented last month and we've made some adjustments.
Yep, just a couple minor adjustments you guys asked for.
I have a motion and a second to approve the middle school, high school handbook. Joe made a motion to approve the handbook. Lisa seconded. All those in favor? Consideration of the middle school, high school athletic handbook.
Yeah, so that was provided by Mr. Starnes and Mr. Joel. Mr. Starnes, can you make a couple comments about the purpose of the middle school and high school athletic handbook that we provided to the board?
Sure. Mostly what we've done, we've updated this senior athlete of the year scoring and selection of that process. In the past, it was just flat out point system. So whatever points they got, that's who would get that award. We've adjusted that. We've added some point scoring to represent some county titles and awards that kids can earn. And when that point total is added up, we'll take the top 3 candidates, both male and female, and our athletic council will review and vote and select the senior athlete of the year. That was presented to all of our coaches July 24th during the all coaches meeting, and it was voted 10-0 for our coaches that they wanted to approve that adjustment. So it's just a different way of selecting giving our coaches an opportunity to have input on who they think the senior athlete of the year is.
Is that the only change?
Yes, we added a waiver. It has been tradition here not to allow a student to play in 2 sports in a single season. However, that doesn't account for a kid who might be a field goal kicker on Friday night and still play soccer, which we don't have, or cross country, or something else, or another sport in a season where that could be utilized. The waiver requires both coaches to agree. If one coach says no, it's denied. If both coaches agree, they work out the practice times, the game times according to what it says on the waivers, such as regular season games would take precedence over practice, conference county games would take precedence over a regular season. Depending on the sport and the event, conference or county, the coaches would have to work out which one's more important. There's no sport that we have that conflicts with both because they're on different weekends. And then state tournaments take precedence over any of the other events. Both of these forms, it has to be initiated by the student, not by the coaches. It's got to be initiated by the student, signed off on by the parent, because the parent needs to know that we're asking this kid to do more than one thing in a season. So if we don't have parent support, then we don't have coach support, and we don't have administrative support. Once the coaches agree, then I will review it, sign off on it, or deny it, give it to Mr. Yoel. He'll do the same thing. So it's going to go all the way up the chain of command, make sure everybody is on the same page with this. There's a lot of instances where we'll have to review. When we have a practice on campus and the other sports off campus, like golf, it would be difficult. We'll take that on a case-by-case basis, talk with the coaches, and administration will also do the same thing.
Can I have a motion and a second to approve the middle school, high school athletic handbook? Wes made a motion to approve the middle school, high school athletic handbooks. Joe seconded. All those in favor? Consideration of the IAPSS new superintendent's academy.
Yeah, this is a personal request and professional request from me, the Indiana Association of Public School Superintendents. They're providing a new superintendent academy this year. There are several new superintendents that go all across the state this year. And they're hosting that in Indianapolis at 3 different sessions, October, March, and June, to address different things that happen in that time of the year. So some is budgeting, some is legislative, those types of things at the different times of the year to inform our leadership as new superintendents. It is in Indianapolis. There won't be any overnights, anything like that. It'll just be for the sessions for that academy. So I'm just seeking approval from the board to gain those competencies and gain that additional insight from my superintendency.
What is the cost of those sections?
I'd have to look at. I don't have that right in front of me, but it was in your packet. But it's pretty insignificant for the value that we're going to get from it. The experts that they bring in are seasoned superintendents and legislators and attorneys that are going to train. It's pretty minimal for what we're going to get for it.
It's a one-time thing just for the season, and it's something that you, once you go to.
Yeah, it's just this year, so it's 3 times this year. Yep.
The ballpark figure.
I'm looking it up for you right now. $350 for all 3 sessions combined.
Yeah, can I have a motion and a second to approve Mr. Smith to attend the IAPSS new superintendent's academy? Lisa made a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Lisa made a motion to approve Mr. Smith to attend the IAPSS new superintendent's academy. Joe seconded. All those in favor? Consideration of revised budget calendar.
At our last public budget work session, Mr. Fletcher mentioned that we may consider revising our budget calendar to align with ADM counts, those types of things. At this time, I'm asking for consideration to take Mr. Fletcher's recommendation and approve the revised budget calendar moving forward as we're providing the board packets and we discussed before. Also, there's a reminder that Monday, 16th, there's 6 p.m. budget meeting.
I have a motion and a second to approve the revised budget calendar. Les made a motion to approve the revised budget calendar. Lisa seconded. All those in favor? Next up is the superintendent's report.
Yep. Just a couple things. And then administrative teams be ready. I'm going to put you on the spot for a moment. But before that, today we had an issue I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention. We had some transportation delays this afternoon. The delays were related to student safety, so we were just following our safety protocols. Unfortunately, the delays become significant, and coupled with the heat index, we had several concerned parents because of the buses running late this afternoon. Just wanted the public to know and the board to know that heard that we understand the concern of that, and we have put in some plans to alleviate that and put in some communication pieces that should help in situations if they would occur in the future. We're developing, like I said, some communication tools that our administrative team and the transportation department will have to be able to inform our parents if there are delays such as today. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention that we did hear and have made adjustments to that. So that, again, we're learning and we're making every step that we can to make that process more communicative. It's a real big thing for me is to make sure that we're communicating and people know if there is something that does come up. So you should see a change, public and parents. You should see a change if that would happen again. So We already had several meetings this afternoon, and that did happen. The incident did happen this afternoon, so we've already had meetings about it, and we'll have a couple more to get some things in place tomorrow, and we should be good to go for that. So the other thing is we have been doing a lot of work this summer. We're doing a lot of work to get school up and running, and I think it's good to hear a few celebrations. So what I'm going to do is I'm putting my admin team on the spot. I'm going to start and give you guys something to think about, but just I'd like to hear a little celebration from the administrators in the room about something in your building that just something to be celebrated. For me, I am just going to put out kudos to an entire team that helped get our first day off to a great start with the staff yesterday. Our staff came in yesterday. We had a breakfast. We had some discussion. We had the custodians did an amazing job getting everything put together. The tech team did an amazing job getting everything put together. Food services was amazing. There's just so many people that put that together that made it a good first day for the staff yesterday. And I know there's a lot of celebrations from today. Everything except for this afternoon, a little incident seemed to go fairly smooth today. But admin team, you have some celebrations like to share?
At Fillmore, last night we had our Meet the Teacher night, and obviously last year we could not have that, but I felt like last night we had more people there than we had 2 years ago, which was nice to see. Our attendance rate today was really good. Had lots of students there today. We've got a couple that are quarantined already, and so they're not with us, but that's just the way it goes. And also, as Mrs. McCamick's sitting here, she mentioned that the students, Mrs. Boyce, our cafeteria, our food service director, she's implemented the Pick 3. She talked to you, I think, in the June or July board meeting, I think it was, about that. And students who bring their lunch, they can pick items and like to go along with their lunch, which is really a good thing because at our, and I think Mr. Gowan's probably the same way, our kids sometimes will bring a sandwich and some other things, but they don't like all the other things, but they do like what the school has. So they have that ability to pick that and also be nourished for the rest of the day. So, 3 really good things I felt like that were going on at Fillmore right now.
We hired or moved Lisa Long, retired, as a longtime secretary. Tina Cook stepped up, and she has done a wonderful job. She's worked her tail off. Registration is a big deal. And Rachel Pate now took her spot, so there's a lot of high energy in the office, which is wonderful right now. So kudos to them. We hired some excellent, awesome employees, a couple of teachers that are top notch, and some IAs. That it was a great day today. It really was. Our Meet the Teacher night last night was packed. We had people parking over here to get up there. So it was nice to have parents back in the building. We were supposed to stop at 7 o'clock. It's 7:30, and they're still in the building. So it's nice to have parents back in the building.
I got a couple things. School never stops at the middle school, high school level, but good summer. Graduate Bree Mahoney Sutherland was our spring showman at the county fair, and that was a big deal, exciting for her. Our FFA kids, we have 5 national finalists that'll go to national convention, and then our chapter was recognized again as a 2-star chapter at the national level, so that's a big deal. I will give huge kudos to our office staff. We graduated 105 kids last year. We brought in 74 6th graders. We should have dropped roughly 30 students, and enrollment is the highest number it's been since we were at 616 kids today. So I don't know, plus 50 or something, what we should have been. So pretty excited about that. And I think I have maybe as many new teachers as I do new kids, and nobody got lost. So it was a great day. So yep, win-win. Yep.
The last thing I'm going to celebrate is all the administrators that are in here. Transportation, Brad's been doing an amazing job getting everything put together. It's just an amazing. Bring all those those buses together, all those routes together, getting kids here with just minor things here and there on a first day. That was really good. I appreciate that. Jared, I appreciate Jared, maintenance, to do an amazing job getting things ready for the school year to get going and help manage these projects that we're working on. We've had several meetings on those, and he's doing a great job on that. Athletics, we got everything. I think we're fully staffed on athletics now. They've been scrambling on that. And then our administrators, building administrators, you guys have been doing an amazing job. They have done just all kinds of things to get our staff hired. They're pulling out all kinds of circus tricks and everything else to get people in here. It's amazing. I want to thank everyone for the work that you're doing, and thank them, and let you guys, the board, know that you're doing an amazing job, and it's exciting to see what's going on around here, and seeing exciting for what is going to happen from this point forward, because there's a lot of good things happening.
Our next regular school board meeting will be held on Wednesday, September 8th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in South Putnam Middle School High School Learning Center. Made a motion to adjourn. Seconded. All those in favor?